Okay, so I'm going to try to work through a couple of lessons in the fifth grade ELA grade recovery packet. And I wasn't going to do this because we did this section together in class pretty shortly before the quarantine started, but you never know. And I thought, you know what, might as well do it together if you're, just in case there is anyone out there who is struggling trying to get this complete in time. This is your number one priority to get this done, get this turned in, get your grade level raised by one letter. Okay, so this will be lesson 11, unfamiliar words, has to do with context clues and how we figure out the meaning of words we don't know, page 34 in the packet. And your learning target says, figuring out the meanings of unfamiliar words will help you better understand the text you read and discuss in school. And this is true, and this is true in life. Remember, this is a life skill. It says, when you read, you probably come across words you do not know. Some of these unfamiliar words may be academic vocabulary or general words that are found in a variety of subjects you study in school. Other words may be found only in a particular subject area, such as science, social studies, or economics. A subject area can have many topics. For example, money is one topic in the subject area of economics. And I think I used the same example with both classes. There are words and phrases that you use that are academic vocabulary. They apply in a particular area. So for instance, if I say, okay, let's talk about thesis, let's talk about a character trait, let's talk about textual evidence that supports your claim. What subject am I most likely talking about? It's ELA. If I said phrases such as observation, testing, hypothesis, variable, experiment, I'm using academic language of a particular subject. What subject am I talking about? Most likely it's science. And so you have words that are used in a particular context and that somebody might not know those terms outside of that. I think we use the medical drama as an example. If you ever watch on TV, if there's the doctors are trying to save somebody on some kind of drama that's on TV, like Grey's Anatomy or something like that, and they're saying, okay, give me 10 cc stat. Oh, they're coding. They're using all these academic terms that have to do particularly with the area of being a doctor or being a nurse, that we don't necessarily know what's going on except based off of the actions of the characters. So you're always going to come across unfamiliar words that maybe only apply to a certain particular field, and trying to figure out what those words mean based off of the context around them is something that's really important. Okay, so they give us the little ad from the animal shelter, and we did this one in class. The Westfield Animal Shelter needs your help. Speaking of animals, real quick, excuse me because I'm doing this at night. My dog needs to come in. He's going to scratch and beat at the door if I don't let him in. So, hold on. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have outgrown our space here. Can you help us build a new shelter to protect our pets? Please make a donation to the Westfield Animal Shelter today. Even a small amount of money will help. Once we raise $10,000, we'll be able to begin construction. We at the shelter will be grateful for your generosity and giving. The animals will thank you for your kindness. Remember that each act of benevolence counts. All right, so they give us the words on page 35. They want us to look. They give us a word: shelter, donation, and benevolence. They give us the context. They want us to come up with the meaning of the word and the clues. And I think in class we did this in reverse. We looked at the clues and then we came up with the meaning. Either way, the main thing is to get this complete. So they give us the word shelter, and the context is build a new shelter to protect our pets. And shelter can mean a lot of things, and we talked about what a shelter can mean, but we're going to look in this context. In this context, build a new shelter. What most likely are they talking about? They're talking about a building. And what's our context? Our clue that would help us? It would probably be the word build. I think what we did in class is we put all the possible meanings, then we looked at the clues, and we would circle the one that we as a class decided upon. Okay, donation. The context is please make a donation. And we talked about different types of donations that we've done at school. And we decided that based off the context, the donation, because they're asking you to make a donation, not give a donation, but make a donation, that this is some amount of money. an amount of money. And we said the reason we knew that was because of the word make. Okay, benevolence. Each act of benevolence counts. Okay, each act, it's an act. And we kind of struggled with this one. Each act of benevolence counts. And we actually looked, we see that the clue, the only way it's going to help us is the word act. Something that you do. That's in the clue section. But we also, I had you go back to the text and look at the sentence before it. That animals will thank you for your kindness. And if I said, think of kindness as something that's going to help you, remember that each act of benevolence counts. Benevolence as an act of kindness. And what's the kindness they're asking for? They're asking for you to give. In this case, is it your time? Is it an object? Or is it money? They're asking you to give money. So in this case, benevolence means, we would say kindness. And particularly, I think we were very specific in class. It said the giving of money. That's benevolence. You give something that you have. In this case, it's money. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at page 36. Here, piggy, piggy. And remember, this was the one that was a little confusing because it's pig spelled P-Y-G-G-Y versus pig, the animal. And so you have to kind of pay attention to what's going on in the story. It says, the first time you heard about or saw a piggy bank, you might have wondered why a pig? Why not some other animal? Wouldn't a bear or a wolf be a more appropriate guard of a person's money? To understand how the pig became the animal of choice for a small personal bank, we need to peer into the past, all the way back to England in the Middle Ages. During the Middle Ages, people in England used dishes, pots, and bowls made of clay. Clay was an ideal substance for such objects because it was cheaper than metal and easier to shape than wood. One type of orange-colored clay was particularly inexpensive and easy to mold into shapes. The name of this clay was pig, P-Y-G-G. So pig, P-Y-G-G, was used to make common household objects. But what's the connection between pig, P-Y-G-G, and piggy banks? Hundreds of years ago, banks did not exist as they do today, but people still needed to keep their coins in a place from which they could be easily removed. So they put them into pig, P-Y-G-G, jars, which later became known as pig banks. In the 1800s, some inventive potters began making pig banks in the form of a pig, P-I-G, with a slot in the back. Not only were these piggy banks more pleasing to look at than regular jars, potters could charge more money for them. Thus, the piggy bank was born. For centuries, most piggy banks were made of clay and could be opened only by shattering them. Today's piggy banks are made from clay, metal, glass, or plastic, and most contemporary piggy banks have a hole in the bottom for taking out money easily. Most people agree that the hole in the bottom was a good addition to the piggy bank. Otherwise, every time you retrieved your money, you'd have to spend some of it on a new piggy bank. All right. So they give us the words and they tell us where to find the paragraph so we can put the context. So the first unfamiliar word or phrase is peer into the past. It's from paragraph 1. So I go all the way to paragraph 1. To understand how the pig became the natural animal of choice for a small personal bank, we need to peer into the past all the way back to England in the Middle Ages. So the context, the possible meaning, and the clues. So peer into the past all the way back to England in the Middle Ages. So we're going to put all the way back, all the way back, possible meaning. Okay, peer into the past means to, we know peer is to look, but what are they talking about here? They're saying to look into history, or look at history, look back into history. And what's our clues? It'd be all the way. Okay, inventive potters, paragraph 3. So I go to paragraph 3. Inventive potters. Okay, in the 1800s, some inventive potters began making pig banks in the form of a pig with a slot in the back. Okay, inventive potters began making. What's the possible meaning of inventive potters? Well, potters are people who work with clay. So they're really looking at what do they mean by inventive? Inventive, did they create the clay? There was already that clay. So what does that mean, inventive? So this is one where you have to look at all the way around that particular sentence in paragraph 3. Some inventive potters began making pig banks in the form of a pig with a slot in the back. Not only were those piggy banks more pleasing to look at than regular jars, potters could charge more money for them. So what's inventive mean by this? Inventive. This would be that inventive potters, these are, it means they're creative. They're thinking about what a way to make it more appealing, and so they can charge more. So creative. Creative. What are our clues? Well, we know that they're making something. But it's the fact that they could charge more money for them. So our clues would be where they make it in the form of a pig, and that they can charge they can charge more money. Alright. Contemporary, paragraph 4. We had a hard time with this one in class. Contemporary. So paragraph 4, it says, for centuries, most piggy banks were made of clay and could be opened only by shattering them. Today's piggy banks are made from clay, metal, glass, or plastic, and most contemporary piggy banks have a hole in the bottom for taking out money more easily. So they let you know, okay, so the context would be, and I don't like this because this is not particularly clear with what you're supposed to do here. The context here is that today, I'm going to put ... so I'm going to write it. Today, piggy banks are made this particular way. They used to not be made that way. So what's the possible meaning of contemporary? You're supposed to get that it's modern. That means today or modern. Modern times, not in the past. Not in the past. And my clue would be the word today. Alright, retrieved. Paragraph 4. Every time you retrieved your money, you would have to spend some of it on a new piggy bank. So every time you retrieved your money, so what's the context? It's talking about getting money from the piggy bank. Possible meaning of retrieved. It has to do with getting your money. Every time you go to retrieve your money, every time you want to get the money out. So the meaning is get the money out. And the clue is actually several sentences before this. And that would be taking money out. And that's where we have to get that. I remember we spent a good while. We spent like a good 45 minutes on this lesson in class. I'll post pictures for you to look at. All right, we're going to do just... Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and stop there for today. So we want to try to make sure we are through lesson 37.